Dust motes dance in the weak sunlight filtering through a grimy attic window. A place of forgotten memories, this attic is a hidden sanctuary, shrouded in cobwebs and dust. Among the relics of the past, an old Victorian dollhouse stands as a silent sentinel, its miniature windows casting an ominous gaze on those who dare to venture into its domain. Our protagonists, Jake and Jessica, stumble upon this forgotten treasure. Jake, driven by curiosity and the tales of his mother about his grandfather's treasures, is drawn towards the dollhouse. Jessica, however, is skeptical. To her, this attic is not a treasure trove but a repository of creepy old junk. Undeterred by Jessica's comments, Jake is captivated by the intricate woodwork of the dollhouse. His eyes fall on a tiny brass keyhole. "It's locked," he murmurs. Jessica suggests they leave it be, the eerie atmosphere of the attic unnerving her. Jake, however, is not one to back down from a challenge. With the precision of a seasoned locksmith, he whips out a Swiss Army knife and picks the lock. The door creaks open, revealing a dimly lit interior. "Wow, check it out! It's like a real house!" Jake exclaims, his voice filled with wonder. But as they peer inside, their wonder turns to shock. Strewn across the miniature floor are figures, exquisitely detailed, their faces frozen in expressions of silent terror. But these aren't just any figures. They're miniature versions of Jake and Jessica. The realization hits them like a cold gust of wind. The attic door slams shut, plunging them into darkness. Jake calls out for Jessica, his voice echoing through the attic. But there's no response, only the chilling silence of the attic and the ominous glow from the dollhouse. They're miniature versions of themselves, frozen in expressions of silent terror. As the dust settles in the dim light, the true horror of their discovery begins to sink in. The attic, once a place of forgotten memories, has now become a haunting tableau of their own terrifying reality. A sudden cold gust of wind slams the attic door shut. The faint, dusty light that once filled the room is swallowed by an all-encompassing darkness. The once benign attic, filled with trinkets of the past, now transforms into a labyrinth of shadows and forgotten memories. In the black abyss, Jake's heart pounds like a frantic drum, his breath shaky and ragged. As his eyes struggle to adjust, he reaches out, his hands brushing against relics of the past. A moth-eaten teddy bear, a rusted tricycle, a forgotten box of yellowed photographs. Then his fingers graze something unsettlingly familiar, the smooth, cold surface of a porcelain doll's head. A shiver runs down his spine, his breath hitching as he drops the object in horror. The sound of it rolling away echoes through the silence, a chilling reminder of the uncanny discovery. From the impenetrable darkness, a voice emerges. Jessica's voice, distorted and echoing, filled with a terror that sends chills down Jake's spine. "Jake, help me!" she calls, her voice a desperate plea in the suffocating darkness. Guided by her voice, Jake stumbles towards the Victorian dollhouse. The miniature world inside is illuminated by an otherworldly blue light, casting long, haunting shadows. In the center, a sight that freezes his blood. Miniature versions of themselves, Jessica cowering in fear, and himself, lifeless on the miniature floor. He reaches out, his hand trembling, to touch the miniature Jessica, but his fingers pass through her as if she were made of smoke and shadows. His breath catches in his throat, a sense of dread settling over him like a heavy shroud. His hand passes through the miniature figures as if they were ghosts. The realization hits him like a cold wave. They're trapped in a world where they are mere specters, helpless and terrified. The haunting glow of the dollhouse, the echoing pleas of Jessica, the chilling darkness of the attic. It all converges into a nightmare that they can't wake up from. This is their reality now, a world where darkness descends and horror reigns. A miniature figure emerges from the shadows, its face hidden in darkness. This is the moment we've been dreading, the manifestation of the unseen terror that has been lurking in this forsaken attic. As the figure approaches, each minuscule step echoes in the eerie silence, a chilling promise of the impending doom. The figure moves closer to the miniature Jessica, who cowers against the tiny fireplace. She's trapped in this grotesque dollhouse, a prisoner in her own reflection. The figure raises its hand, a claw-like appendage that seems to grow more menacing with each passing second. It's a sight that would freeze the blood in your veins, a tableau of horror etched in miniature. Meanwhile, Jake is on the outside, a helpless observer to this terrifying scene. He reaches out to intervene, his hand trembling as it passes through the spectral figures. His voice is a desperate plea, a futile cry against the unfolding nightmare. But his pleas are swallowed by the ever-growing rumble, a sound that seems to come from the very bowels of the house. The floorboards start to creak and groan beneath him, an ominous symphony that fills the attic. Each creak is louder than the last, each groan a sinister crescendo, building to an unbearable climax. The house itself seems to be alive, its timbers twisting and groaning with an ancient anger that's been awakened. Jake's eyes dart around the attic, searching for a way out of this waking nightmare. But there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The only escape is through the dollhouse, but that's a door that leads to an even darker horror. His desperation is palpable, a raw emotion that paints his face a ghostly white. Jessica's sobbing echoes through the attic, a haunting melody that intertwines with the creaking of the floorboards. Her voice is a chilling reminder of their shared terror, a desperate plea for salvation. With a final deafening crack, the attic floor gives way. The world tilts, and Jake and Jessica are swallowed by the darkness. Their screams echo through the collapsing house, a chilling symphony of terror that reverberates through the night. Jake and Jessica tumble into the darkness below, their screams echoing through the collapsing house. The attic, once a place of forgotten memories and dust-covered trinkets, now becomes a churning vortex of splintered wood and swirling dust, a maw of terror that swallows our hapless explorers whole. Each second stretches into an eternity as they plummet downwards, their desperate calls to each other lost in the cacophony of destruction. "Jake!" Jessica's voice wavers, a lonely note in the symphony of chaos. "Jess!" Jake hollers back, his voice straining against the roar of crumbling timber and shattering glass. The world around them spins in a dizzying whirl of confusion and fear. Above, the attic recedes into a pinpoint of light, a star swallowed by the encroaching night. Below, the abyss yawns wide, an insatiable beast ready to devour them. Their hands reach out in the darkness, fingertips brushing against each other, a fleeting touch that sparks a glimmer of hope amidst their shared terror. They are not alone in this nightmare, they have each other. But even as this realization dawns, the distance between them grows. The inky blackness swallows their outstretched hands, severing their last connection. A sudden impact jars them from their free fall. Jake lands hard, a gasp escaping his lips as the wind is knocked from his lungs. Jessica's fall is broken by a pile of debris, her breath hitching in short, panicked gasps. But there is no time for relief. The house groans, a morose lament that echoes through its hollow bones. It shudders, a final death rattle before the world above comes crashing down. "Jake!" Jessica's scream pierces the darkness, a desperate plea lost in the roar of destruction. "Jess!" Jake's voice breaks, a futile cry against the inevitable. And then, silence. A deafening, oppressive silence that swallows their screams, their fear, their hope. The house, once a symbol of childhood memories and familial bonds, now lies in ruins, a tomb for their shared terror. Their screams echo through the collapsing house. Their voices, once full of life and warmth, now only a chilling echo in the cold silence of the fallen dollhouse. The moon casts an eerie glow on the ruins of the house. As our tale concludes, we find ourselves outside, the rubble of what was once a grand home now scattered haphazardly, a haunting testament to the inexplicable events that unfolded within its walls. The once sturdy structure has given way to decay and ruin, a chilling tableau of destruction painted in the eerie light of the moon. Amidst the wreckage, an incongruous sight captures our attention. The Victorian dollhouse, the catalyst of the night's horrors, remains untouched. Its intricate woodwork stands stark against the carnage, a beacon of eerie beauty amidst the devastation. Its miniature windows, once dark and ominous, now glow with a faint, unworldly light, beckoning us to peer within its tiny rooms once more. As we draw closer, a chilling tableau unfolds within the dollhouse. Jake and Jessica, the brave explorers of the forgotten attic, are no longer in our world. Instead, they are trapped inside the dollhouse, their miniature versions frozen in a moment of sheer terror. Their faces, once filled with youthful curiosity and anticipation, are now etched with an eternal horror that belies their tiny stature. Jake's miniature figure lies limp, a chilling echo of his fall into the abyss. Jessica, her figure huddled against the tiny fireplace, is a heart-rending sight. Her eyes, wide with terror, seem to plead for a rescue that will never come. The dollhouse, once a treasure chest of childhood memories, has turned into a prison for our hapless adventurers. Their silent screams echo through the miniature rooms, their terror forever encapsulated within the tiny walls of the dollhouse. As we pull away from the dollhouse, we are left with a haunting image. An unworldly light continues to glow from within the dollhouse, casting long, eerie shadows across the ruins. In the silence of the night, the quiet sobbing of Jessica can be heard, a chilling reminder of the horrors that unfolded. Miniature Jake and Jessica trapped inside, their faces frozen in eternal horror. The echoes of their screams linger, a chilling melody that serves as a grim lullaby to the night. Our tale ends here, but the horrors within the dollhouse will forever haunt our memories.